Hello and welcome to the AL Garris space. Welcome. Thank you for being this space. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for aligning and allowing. So if you have caught the podcasts right before this one, the last two, I believe, were about spiritual awakening. What is spiritual awakening? What happens when we spiritually awaken? And some tips and tools to assist, if needed, with that process. It is a process. It is an unfolding and a shifting of your energy and your consciousness. But I'm not going to go into what it is because I spent 2 podcasts on it already. So you can go back and catch those if you didn't already catch them. But I would like to take this into some Q&A that I received from beautiful listeners. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming over to this channel. Thank you for sharing your questions, your comments, and your feedback. It has been an incredible experience connecting with you. And I cannot believe that we are going to be completing our first season. So this is the season finale episode, if you will. And we're going to come back next week with episode 1 of season 2. So we're going to have some changes and some little upticks and edits in the way in which we present it all to you and make it available to you. But the interactivity has upticked greatly. And so we decided, myself and my producer, assistant, we decided that we wanted to meet everyone right where they're at. And we wanted to allow the space to continue the momentum that it is picking up and answer those questions, field those spaces of alignments together in this podcast space. So season 2 will start next week, but we're going to go ahead and have a beautiful season finale here today with some Q&A that has come in from our viewers, our listeners. So, all right, let's look at what we've got here, guys. Okay, so this one comes in from, I'm not going to use names because I'm not positive everybody's okay with that. So we'll just say where they're coming in from. Everybody put their name and their location. This is from a beautiful individual in Portugal, and they have a question about past spiritual connection spaces. What happens with the spiritual belief structure when you spiritually awaken? What happens with my spiritual belief structure when I spiritually awaken? This is such a good one. Thank you for asking it. I navigated this, and many of you probably have as well if you're here listening, connecting. When we go through spiritual awakening, we are awakening our spiritual self at a new level. So we might already be spiritually aware. We might already have spiritual connections, spiritual team, spiritual belief structure. But we're expanding our understanding of ourselves in all the alignments of ourselves. So this is going to be in our spiritual belief structure, and this is also going to affect the way we expand our interpretation of everyday life and our work and our relationships, our self-love, our self-worth, all of it is interconnected. And so when we begin to expand, period, all these spaces start shifting and resetting themselves to this level that we're now entering into and or anchoring and being. So your spiritual beliefs do reset as well. What I mean by that is I'll take you on a little story. People love stories, right? So when I began my spiritual awakening process, I had been 36, 37 years, I believe, in the belief structure of being a Christian. And so, I was completely, deeply interconnected with Jesus, Yeshua, and the understandings of those teachings of Christ and the teachings of the Bible. And so when I began waking up, I was beginning to see those teachings from a different vantage point than where I had been looking at them from before, because I understood myself a bit differently and the world around me a bit differently That included my belief structures as well. And I know for some people, I work with clients and students all over the world. Some people, they kind of like to remove the belief structures prior to a massive shift in their understanding of themselves and the world around them, a massive awakening point. So they like to remove the belief structures they held prior because they deem them no longer an alignment. And that's fine. You do you. For me, I felt as if I was maintaining the belief structures at their core, but I was allowing them to walk me through this new expansive space of myself that I was engaging and allowing and finding. And my core belief structures for 30 some years of my life were helping me find more of me. And it got a little trippy at one point because I had people that were very close to me that also held this Christian faith. And they said, you know, they were very uncomfortable with me taking Jesus into learning about full moons, even though much of the major holidays celebrated in religions like Christianity are fully connected with full moons. Look up Easter. Look up Easter. But they didn't like that, you know, it scared them because they had a lot of fear reference full moons and connecting in with and learning about the energy of the moon. And it's in a connectivity with the earth and the feminine vessel and the cycles and the waves and all of this stuff that I find fascinating. But I had kind of been told my whole life, don't look at that stuff. Don't open that door. And there was a lot of fear behind the don't open the door and don't look at that stuff. And so for me, when I was waking up, I realized that I had to heal my fear, because the only way you shift, change, expand your energy, the only way you do it is by acknowledging the spaces in you that hold fear and healing that fear. Everybody might have a different way of dealing with that. I did not need to get all up in how it got there and why it was there and who put it there and how long it had been there. I'm not that type of person. I don't need to process that way. But there are people that works really well for, and everyone should follow their heart. But for me, it was an understanding of the power of my being, period. The power of my mind, the power of my heart, the power of my alignment of energy, intention of consciousness, my awareness. And that the minute I set my awareness and my intention upon an alignment for myself, to clear, to reset, to make the connection of whatever I was doing, that was it. The energies were going to be in flow, because that's what I believe. And it's very important to understand what you believe. But my spiritual connection points assisted me. So even when I was learning about spaces that I was told, you do not look at, you do not read it, you do not watch that movie, you do not open that book, those are not of God, those are not of the Bible, stay away from it, don't learn about it, don't open that door. Even when that was being told to me, I understood that that was fear, and anything steeped in fear is not there to help me. It's not there to protect me. It's there to control me. And this was what I registered. You do not have to register this. You should register via your own interpretation point. It's the one that will work for you. I'm just sharing mine in case it helps anyone catch the vibration of their own, you know, see the vibration of their own, connect with the vibration of their own. But Jesus went with me. Jesus has never left me. I do have a very different take on who Jesus is. Yeshua, I began to say his name differently. I began to see him even differently in a sense of the visual. There's a lot of art that's been presented along the way, and majority of it does not really make a lot of sense for the part of the world in which he was said to live. So I started adjusting this connection to the spiritual belief structure I held, but I didn't negate it. I didn't drop it. I just allowed it space to grow as I was growing. And I think that that is a very valuable and valid space for all of us to just be available to. You do not have to throw everything out the window that you've ever believed or connected in with. You can give it the opportunity to shift with you as you shift, open up with you as you open up. And you are basically just allowing an expanded version of who you've been and what you've believed. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I'm sure there are people who would be offended by it because they think I'm changing the word of the Lord, or I'm adding to or taking away from. And I respect that. I respect that. And you absolutely 100% should follow your own heart and listen to your own inner knowing, as I will do for me. And that is when we are truly living authentically. I'm not living according to anybody else's terms, and I'm not asking anybody to live according to mine. Authenticity landed when I began to wake up at a new level of my being. And I decide what makes up my spiritual team. You decide what makes up your spiritual team. And as you expand and shift and awaken, because we're never done. We're never done. We'd get really bored if we were ever done. We're eternal. We're having nows. And as we have this now, and we allow this now to unfold and expand, and we unfold and we expand, our spiritual connection points, our spiritual belief structures are going to unfold and expand as well. And it doesn't mean we have to give up anything that we've ever believed in. We can allow ourselves to feel into those spaces and just decide with our inner knowing whether they still feel like they fit, like they resonate with us, or if we need to adjust anything to match where we are now. So I have adjusted my spiritual connections tremendously. Interestingly enough, I have more connection with Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary than I did at the basis of my belief structure being strictly Christian. Because in the Christian faith, it is not, and I was a pastor, I had people come to my home, and I had a congregation and everything. We did a beautiful church service event once a week for quite some time. I've baptized people, I've married people. So I understand this space. I've done the Bible, Genesis to Revelations, back and forth, inside and out, was steeped in it my whole life. And what my being, yes, sometimes I yell, yes. It's when the energy is rising really quickly and shifting really quickly. And we're getting into some spaces of deep truths. So that can happen sometimes. But my understanding is that our spiritual belief, core foundational structures do not have to change if we expand our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. They can shift with us. And I understand, as I said, there are scriptures that say nothing is to be added or taken away from the Bible, and you can't change it, blah, blah, blah. And I don't want to change it. And I don't want to take anything out or put anything in. The Bible is the Bible. But I know that there is an ever-expanding connection point of me and source, me and God, me and the divine, me and the I am, that is within me. It is not just in a book, and it is not just in a building, and it is not just in a certain type of service or program or even belief structure. It is beyond any of those boxes. Ha 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 ha, ha. Really beyond. And it is within my heart. When I was a little girl, I've said this before in other podcasts, but it's so lovely. I want to say it again. When I was I was a young woman. I'll say that. I was a young woman. I think I was around 19 or so. And my father and I were really close. And he was always involved in the church. And he took me with him all the time to everything. And we were on parish planning committees together. And I remember him telling me one time, baby girl, no matter what any man, preacher, teacher tells you about God, always, always, always go within and listen with your heart and let the Holy Spirit share with you if that is true or not, if it fits you or not, if it resonates with you or not. Go within. Take no man's word for it. And he was really adamant about the no man. He was like, not even a pastor, like, because he knew that I had been raised to look up to the pastor figure and think that they would know more, right? They would know more. And he said, go within, go within. And I really love that. He's not in the physical anymore with me. He passed away when I was like 23 years old, something like that. And yeah, that was just a few years before he died. And he's still with me. He's still with me more than ever, really. But that was a really powerful connection point we shared. And he gave me that life guidance, wisdom. And I'm very grateful for it, because I think in order to do what I do, to be a speaker internationally to people from all different belief structures, cultures, backgrounds, men, women, old, young, and meet everyone right where they're at. Yes. That wisdom of go within, of listen to your own inner knowing, was imperative for me to be able to do what I do now. And to be able to share that with others, to advise, to guide, to encourage you, hearing me, seeing me, however you're connecting with this right now, encourage you to go within. Listen. And it doesn't mean we don't have guidance from outer spaces, like not outer spaces and the cosmos, which that it comes from there as well, but like outside connection points of like, teachers and content creators that share fantastic content and understandings. We absolutely benefit from hearing each other. But my dad was trying to convey, and did convey to me very, very well, just remember to take everything you're hearing and everything you're learning, and then go within and ask inside your own being. And, for everybody, that could be a different connection point. For some of you, that might be ask God. And for some of you, it might be ask, yes, the source, ask universe, ask divine spirit, ask the I am, ask Yeshua. The name does not matter. That space that we're asking, that connection point inside of us, that we are never separate from unless we are under the illusion of separateness. That space of us is beyond any name. We have attempted, and we have done really well if you think about the enormity of what we're attempting to do, to take something incomprehensible. It is this space of God, this space of source consciousness, this space of in the beginning. That space is incomprehensible. Everyone can have a take on how they would interpret. And guess what? Most likely, if you're expanding, if you're allowing your spiritual awakening process to continue to unfold, that take on how you see that space is going to edit and adjust as you do. It's all part of the process. It's all part of consciousness rising to remember itself. So your spiritual team does not have to change. It doesn't have to be nixed or disconnected from, because you decide to allow yourself to open up your vantage point and look at other spaces, learn from other teachings. I don't believe anybody has the right to tell you that you can't take Jesus with you, Yeshua with you on your journey, because you decided that you believe he's more than what has been told of him. Because you believe that there's more to the connection of you and Yeshua. Yes. And that type of belief is not allowed in many of the religious structures, you know. Yes. But if you're not in that religious structure, I left that religious structure, and I didn't have to leave Jesus behind because I left the religious structure. I just took Jesus with me. Because in my understanding, the way I was understanding myself was opening, and I was starting to see Jesus in a different way as well, in a bigger way as well. And for me, it is the alignment of the understanding of unity consciousness. So when I am connecting in with Yeshua and the teachings and the understanding of a man who walked the earth and brought forth these teachings, I'm tapping into allowing the expansion of the teachings of unity consciousness, of the connectivity of all consciousness, and its variation points playing out in order for it to explore itself and therefore expand itself. So, and my answer to this question is based on Christianity and Jesus, but this applies to all religions. And I'm not trying to upset any religious teachers or theologians or whatever. I totally believe they're right and you're right and my right for everyone to allow the unfolding of spiritual awakening in our beings, in our individualized lives, according to what we believe, without having to think it has to fit somebody else's template. Yes. And I mean, that belief I carry, thank you for this question, by the way. I know I'm taking a long time answering it, but I really love this topic. So I want to stay here for a moment, please. The belief I carry on how Jesus walked me through, I mean, I learned all about tarot because I was told not to look at tarot, reading cards. And I learned all about Wicca. I was told not to look at that. I learned all about higher dimensional beings of light, what many call like ETs, aliens, star beings. I learned about the Arcturians, the Palladians, the tall ones, the Nordics. I learned about energy healing. I became a Reiki master first, and now I'm an Acasma quantum energy Grandmaster Dea. I am a facilitator and a master teacher. But it's energy healing, but it's a ascension modality as well, and it's just a new level that's humanity's ready for. So every single space I ventured into and began allowing myself to read and look at and watch and connect, whatever it was, book, movie, tapes, whatever, I took my faith in my connection with Yeshua with me. And as I grew and changed, because some of those spaces I'm not really into anymore, but they helped me understand a way to heal fear, because I had feared of them. I was told not to go near them. And so I was able to heal that fear, which helped heal many other spaces of my being, health related, mental related, emotionally related, just various spaces, because fear is not really good for any parts of us. It's good in prodding us forward. It's good in prodding us forward. But I took Yeshua with me. And as I moved in and out of these spaces of learning and growth, he moved with me. And as I did this, I changed and I shifted and I expanded. And my interpretation of Yeshua did as well. I don't hold the same fundamental belief structures on who he was and why he was here and what he did. But I have not negated the connectivity with the core foundational representation he is and was, with the understanding of unity consciousness, with the understanding of we're all one and we're in many variation points. And those variation points are all having different experiences according to their divine design that they, I, you, we create in order to explore ourselves, in order to expand ourselves. So I love that question. And I think it's fantastic to allow yourself to take your spiritual team with you and let them shift and expand as you do. I think that's very healthy. I think it's very balanced. And, you know, I was teaching a class the other day, mindset check-in, I believe. And I was talking about, I teach classes. If you want information about joining my classes, you can go below the video for a link to my website. There's also information on patreon.com, A.L. Garris, patreon.com. But I was teaching this class the other day, and I was talking about how we can have these specific belief structures that we were given, that we were taught, that somehow came into our lives. And we can carry them with us. And then we can begin to have wake up moments, shift moments, changes in the way in which we're seeing ourselves in the world around us. And a lot of people struggle with, what do I do with my old spiritual connection? You know, I can remember a really big space of, how do I pray if I don't see God like as an old man on a throne, as the Father, Son, and Spirit, Holy Spirit type of thing? Yes. If I don't see God that way any longer, then how do I pray? And it took me years. It took me years. And now I teach people how to do that, because it's something that's very important, that is very empowering and uplifting to be aware of. The power of prayer, and the power of prayer coming from a state of that expanded allowance of ourselves. Yes? But it took me a long time, because I wasn't sure what you do with faith. It's such an intimate and deeply sacred space of us, our faith, what we've placed our faith in, who we believe in, what we believe in. But when we're waking up, when we're shifting into a new space of understanding of ourselves and the world around us, we're told there's no way you can take your faith with you, because your faith only fits in this template. If you leave this template, then you cannot have this faith. You can't take it. You cannot take it with you. It's not adaptable. It's set in stone, and it only belongs here in this template, in this layout, in this space. And I just don't think anybody has the right to do that with the divine. I think the divine is in all these templates. I think the divine is in the Quran. I think the divine is in the Bible. I think the divine is in the teachings of Krishna. And I think the divine is in the teachings of Buddha. I think the divine is in the understandings of science. And I think the divine is in the spaces of nature. Yes. And I don't think anyone, human and or beyond human, is able to box up that divine and state what it must look like and how it must be connected with. I think it's too vast and we're too vast. So many humans now are in an alignment of their remembrance of themselves in which they're flowing consciously, vibrationally in that vastness. And so the higher mind and the higher heart are coming on more and more. They're not separate from us. They're a part of us. Consciousness is all connected. We have vessels and we slow the flow rate down. The waves of energy that are consciousness itself. Yes. We slow it down. Yes. And it sparks into the embryo when it comes forth into the womb. Yes. And it takes on a life-based format to explore itself, to remember itself. Yet it is source itself. And all the variation points, all the life spaces, all the spaces of consciousness are source points. And as each individual space, whether it is the tree in the yard or your dog, your lovely cat, your fish, shout out to the fish lovers, your child, your neighbor, the stars, where life surges, where life grows, where life breathes, expands, ebbs and flows, and in ways we have yet to name, understand, and even recognize. Source is, God is, Goddess is. I know some people are really stuck on giving that space of origin, the reference point of the masculine. I don't believe it's a man or a woman. I believe it's a state of flow that is a purity of love and presence, stillness, yet, yes, like the nothingness of everything amplified times 1,000. Ebbing, flowing, emanating, pulsating, illuminating as it decides what it shall create next. And every space of creation becomes another reference point of that source flow to create again and again and again. As it's still the same source space creative being, wave, energy, consciousness, it's just in different variation points in order to continue the process, the allowance. It's fascinating. It's fascinating and it's exciting. It's glorious. We have the opportunity to allow that, that belief, that understanding. We don't have to understand it. We don't have to be able to articulate it perfectly, but we have the ability to allow. And as we allow that interconnectivity of all of this source flow in all the variation points, unity consciousness begins to land in its point of reference and where it's been given the opportunity. Does this make sense? And the higher mind and the higher heart are like connection valves for the information flowing, felt and thought, in a sense, in connection with the spaces of source. And the moment a space of source, you have a thought that expands you past the last reference point you held of who you are and the world around you, The minute you have that aha moment, yes, you hold that awakening understanding in your being. Whether you had an awakening last week, last year, or this is the first one, the minute you have it, it reverberates through the whole, the unified field. And all spaces of consciousness that are ready for an aha moment kind of get a little ping. There's nothing that has to be done by anyone. It's just what we could say as, this is imperfect, but we could just say it's just the science of it all. It's just the way it all moves, you know. What is done with that ping is not important. It's not a focal point we need to hold. It's not an attachment we need to grip. But the moment you experience a shift in your own being, that flow rate of shift, whatever it is, big shift, small shift, somewhere in between shift, flows out of you through your field of consciousness, which is part of the field of consciousness. All aspects of consciousness receive a ping of some kind. And, are you ready? The origin point shifts accordingly as well. So anytime anybody says they think they can figure out who God is, what God is, source is, Sophia, whatever words you're using, we're so beyond some of these words though. And I'm not trying to say that in judgment. I'm saying it from a really excited standpoint of what we're ready for in allowing these really expansive understandings of ourselves. But the minute you shift, all consciousness, including source, shifts. And that is why we will never, ever be able to give a definite interpretation of who or what God is. Because the minute we would say it, it would mean we hit a level of understanding in our own being that would reverberate out and connect through the field all the way to source, and source would shift and expand further, and it wouldn't be what we just said. It would continue to expand just as you will, just as I will, just as we will. And as we expand, as we allow the spiritual awakening to unfold, because it's happening and there's no real like, wait, I don't want to, let me go ahead and just like get off of this particular type of ride. This is what's happening in this experiential field of existence, in humanity, on earth. This is what's happening. There's no pause, there's no stop, there's no restart, there's no reset. Yes. In the sense in where you opt out. There's definitely, you can take a break and you can chill for a little while, but you're not really pausing. You're just allowing yourself to flow in a new way in order to nurture yourself as you're expanding, but you're always, always, always expanding. And I know some people, they say, oh, no, that's not true, because I have a parent and they keep talking about the same thing they've been talking about their whole lives, and they're like 80 some years old and they're never going to change. They've never expanded. I guarantee you, even in the one that seems the most unexpanded, there are spaces that they ponder. There are dreams they have had that have made them question. There are experiential moments that we would deem extraordinary or supernatural or paranormal even, that they wonder, what was that? And there is an availability, there is a space of movement happening to some degree. And again, as I said in the very beginning of the call, fear slows the process down until you decide to walk into the fear and diffuse the fear. Take it apart, realize you're more than it, Then at that point of connection with the fear, you leave, slow down, cycle, pattern, hit your head against the wall a million times over. You leave that once you've decided to step into the fears and take them apart, disassemble them. Then the fear becomes a prod forward. The fear becomes a space of energy that's pushing you out of where you've been and into where you're ready to be. And we see this in so many spaces of life. For some people, they've always wanted to act, or they've always wanted to sing, or they've always wanted to play an instrument or dance, or, be a speaker or something like that, teacher, but they have like a really big fear of being in front of people, but they really want to. And it's amazing. I see it all the time when they step through the fear and they lean in and they show up for themselves and they do the uncomfortable and they engage the space of the unknown. The fear is no longer slowing them down. It's no longer gripping them into cycled patterns of behavior and experiences, but the fear begins to shift and the fear begins to become an accelerant, a prod forward for them to leave the space of wanting and move into the space of embodying and being. And it's exhilarating. It's exhilarating. Yes, of course, it can also be terrifying, absolutely. But not a terrifying in the way that it has to make you sick or hurt you. Terrifying in the best way, where you're like, oh my God, that was crazy. I cannot believe I did that. And I know I used specific, illustration of like speaking in public or acting or singing or something like that. But you could apply this to anything you're afraid of doing, right? That's not going to harm you or anybody else. And that's in alignment with brother, sisterly love, universal law. Don't let fear stand in your way. Don't let fear continue to keep you in old cycles and old patterns and old programs and beliefs. But lean into those fears in the way you're able to, that feels good to you, and everybody's different. Lean in, listen with your heart, not your head, your heart, and you'll hear your higher heart. And then you'll hear your higher mind. And every part of you, all of your belief structures, your spiritual connection, the way you think about every part of humanity, the way you think about yourself beyond physical life, the afterlife, all these spaces of you will be given the opportunity to shift, to change, to open, to flow in a new way, because you made room enough for them to do so. And you gave yourself the permission to do so. You are an incredible being of light. You're inhabiting a human format. You're having a now, and you're remembering your light and allowing it into your now. And then if you choose to implement that light in your everyday human life, that activates that availability of that space of consciousness for yourself to shift your life and flows it through the field, the unified field of consciousness as well, all the way back to your origin point as source. Creating, creating, creating. I am very grateful to be creating with you. Very grateful to be creating with you. So thank you for being in this now. Thank you for being in this now. So I'm looking forward to season 2. There will be some changes in the visual for the page and the name and stuff like that, but I think it's going to be really helpful for everybody to differentiate between my channels, because I do have multiple YouTube channels and they all provide something different, and it's important. So we're going to do it, and we're going to do the best we can with it. And we appreciate your love, your encouragement, and your support. So thank you for being here. We're excited. We're very excited. And I would love to just really quickly let you know that I have a course coming up. If you're catching this when it's released in the month of October 2025, I have a course coming up called Rise of the Goddess. And this course is only offered one time a year. And it has been around for a few years. This will be the first year in a while, in a few years, in which it will be offered completely live. Last year was a video version. This will be completely live. I will be teaching the course once a week we'll be together for at least 27 weeks, but there's going to be some additional weeks in the beginning to set the rhythm of the space. And then we're going to jump in to the once a week for 27 weeks. It's an incredible course. I actually wrote a book about it. If you are on the podcast where it is also visual, some of you know where it's only being heard, but if you are where it is visual as well, then you see the book in my hands, and there can be a link below the video as well to the book. But it's called Rise of the Goddess. It's by A.L. Garris, myself, and I am very, very excited to teach this course, to bring it back to everybody and make it available. It's going to open registration on November 1st, and then the course itself, I believe we're going to be beginning it in the end of December. So there is some information available in the product format on my website, sacredexpansion.com. Again, link below the video. It is for women only, but we do have a Rise of the God course coming. Oh my gosh, it's the first time I've shared it publicly, so I'm super excited about this. We have a Rise of the God book coming and a Rise of the God course coming, so I'm really excited about that. And I look forward to being in these spaces with you all. Any questions, comments, or feedback, please reach out. Thank you so much. I know that I only answered one question, and I love this topic. It was so beautiful. What a powerful topic to be allowing ourselves to connect in with. So thank you. Thank you to Portugal for this beautiful question that birthed this incredible podcast space. And I will answer these other questions. Please keep sending the questions in. I promise we're going to do them. And season 2, we are beginning filming in the next 3 days here. So we're going to be putting in these questions as well. So keep sending those questions. Keep sending your feedback. We love hearing from you. Thank you so much for doing so. And no matter where you are, no matter what space of the journey you're in right now, you are surrounded by love. You are safe. Trust yourself. Lean in and listen with your heart. Listen with your heart. I'll see you next time. Blessings upon you, holy ones. Blessings.